You might think it's too early to start talking about Generation 9 of Pokemon. However, I'm essentially here to call you a dum-dum and pat you on the head. Either way, let's see what we're talking about today. See, I have done some high-level thinking and made the logical deduction that Generation 9 most likely will be coming out at the tail end of 2022. Now, of course, I could be totally wrong here, but I'm gonna act like I know everything I'm talking about. So basically, around November next year, we might be expecting to see it. Now, you might think, well, where'd you get that idea from? Well, okay, sit back, relax, and let's dive into my reasoning, shall we? First things first, the biggest arguments used against people like myself who suggest 2022 for Generation 9 is that Legends Arceus is coming out next year in 2022, and that because of that we won't get Generation 9 next year. However, what all of those people forget is that Legends Arceus is releasing on the 28th of January. AKA the start of 2022, and they forget that there are, I don't know, another 11 or so months left of the year, and they don't release another game. Well, they basically have nothing then at the start or, at the end of that year. There's nothing else happening. So let me explain my reasoning as to why I think Gen 9 will be next year then. Number one, the merchandise. So you might be a bit confused, or you simply don't know about, enough about the Pokemon franchise or news cycle and the promotional cycle of Pokemon, so you may not know what I'm talking about. But something you should know is that Pokemon as a franchise makes majority of its money from its merchandise and not its video games. Sure, the video games make tons of money, but Pokemon is a toy selling machine and a trading card game machine, so it's doing insanely well again, with those sectors in particular. The TCG is sold out in stores all over the planet. However, it's not like the merchandise just exists in its own vacuum and space. No, rather the merchandise has always worked side by side with the Pokemon video games. See, the Pokemon video games have always acted as a sort of center point for everything else surrounding the franchise, where there is, when there isn't a new game, there is no new Pokemon for the TCG to make newer sets, there are no new Pokemon for new toys, plushies, and other things that, have to be made. And if there isn't a new generation, then there isn't enough new content for the Pokemon anime as well as the manga to make new chapters and episodes out of. Basically, without the existence of the video games, there just isn't enough content for the merchandise to be produced. And right now, what we are looking at is for the coming months from, September until halfway through the next year, to have ourselves merchandise related to the Sinnoh and Hisui region, with most likely a few new sets relating to Hisui and Sinnoh being released for the TCG, and tons of new toys and plushies for the merch as well. It's gonna happen. And definitely there's gonna also be like episodes in the anime that might center around the Sinnoh region and talks about Hisui possibly. However, the latest Pokemon anime Journeys is starting to seem like it's getting closer and closer to its conclusion. And on top of that, by the time we are halfway through 2022, most people will be probably sick and tired of Sinnoh and Hisui and already looking for either Legends Arceus DLC or the next set of games, that either being a Let's Go Johto game, which is the other possibility, or the most logical, Generation 9. Also, the strange release date of Legends Arceus just adds to this, which takes me to the next point, which is the release date of Legends Arceus. So, the release date of Legends Arceus, it's such a strange one, but a not very crazy one. See, if Legends Arceus releases at the end of January, we have over a month before the next Pokemon Day, where usually we see a new Pokemon Presents, which will be at the end of February and at the start of March, give or take. This gives Legends Arceus more than enough time to get the sales going and doing amazingly, and then us getting some sort of announcement for the next generation of Pokemon on Pokemon Day. I can even imagine right now what the announcement would sound like with the English translator for whoever the developer from Game Freak or Pokemon Company is going to be there, telling us that we have now, traveled to Hisui and see the Sinnoh of past, or, been in the present Sinnoh and BDSP, and then telling us, we should pick up the games we haven't already, and then asking us if we're ready for a new journey, that's going to be connected to these, and then perhaps just showing us the logos for the brand new games, and, just a short trailer without gameplay. This way, they can keep people buying Legends Arceus, but also start getting, some attention and hype for the next generation of Pokemon. Just getting people excited for the next thing without giving us too much. Like the logos would be enough in this case, where people will keep playing Legends and keep buying it who haven't bought it yet, and the people who are playing BDSP will, finish it, and maybe some new people will pick it up. By around that time though, the Sinnoh hype will die down, and they gotta get the new thing going. The third point is Pokemon Go. So you might be confused. Well, there is this thing. So Pokemon Go is still making a ton of money for the Pokemon Company and for Niantic, and it's clearly a cash cow. However, Pokemon Go has an issue. It's going to run out of Pokemon eventually. It's already gotten to the point now that they are about to include Generation 8 Pokemon and Legendaries, which means that they essentially skipped over some stuff just to push out the currently more popular Pokemon from the more popular recent generation rather than completing the release of other generations, which they just seem to skim over. But yeah, Pokemon Go, to remain profitable and popular, will have to essentially keep releasing Pokemon that they, haven't done yet. And they can, of course, keep running, these events over and over again, right? But more and more players will lose interest if this keeps going on forever, or for too long. I don't think even the most hardcore of Pokemon Go fans want to catch the same Caterpie or Gible over and over again until they lose their minds. I mean, maybe you do, but I don't know. I'm not crazy enough to do that personally. Pokemon Go just ain't my thing. So they need to get some way to include more new Pokemon and eventually, but, also other things, just ways to, include Pokemon that aren't there already, more new Pokemon. And maybe they can do things like increasing the level cap and other features, but at the end of the day, new Pokemon are the biggest and most important thing that people tend to wait for and be excited for when it comes to the game. So they need new ones, right? And if there isn't a new Pokemon generation next year, that means that they will have to plan ahead by a large margin for the next few years when it comes to what Pokemon they can make available and what events they can run to make sure that people keep their interest. Basically, my point here boils down to that Niantic need a new Pokemon generation next year. So you gotta give them, that, so they have some breathing room to keep players around, or else the game is gonna start struggling further and further. I mean, it's already had some issues with a lot of complaints from the player base, a lot of issues about, just general stuff in the game and just things they've been doing by not listening to fans and making changes fans want. That's already an issue, but imagine what's gonna happen when fans start losing interest because they already have a million Caterpies, or they already have a bunch of Gibbles that are shiny. Eventually, they'll just get bored of these things. You gotta give them something new eventually. Number 4, player fatigue. So basically, I think most players, or player fatigue, sorry, either way, most players by this point next year will be tired of Sinnoh and Galar and will be ready to lay waste to a new Pokemon region. I mean, the competitive side of Pokemon has been in a disarray during Sword and Shield's era, and overall has just been a horrible kind of place because it's more or less just not properly functioning. They just made a poor competitive system in Galar for Sword and Shield, and it's more or less time now to move away from this, generation and region and get to the next one and fix the issues of the past and get the new, I guess, season of, competitive going, right? The new era of competitive needs to be reset somewhat. The 5th point, it's going to be the end of the Generation 8 cycle. See, the cycle we have ran through already and finished by this time next year. We've already ran through the course. The Sword and Shield games released in 2019, had DLC in 2020, and in 2021 we had BDSP, and the start of 2022 we have Legends Arceus. That's 4 games between when that game came out. Well, actually 3 games in between there, or technically 2 with the DLC being essentially like that 3rd version game we used to have in the past. Now, the way Pokemon has always ran is that you have 3 years. So you release a game, and then you have usually 2 games in between there, and then the next generation, right? So you have the 3-year time frame. And guess what? In 2022, that time frame will have ran through the traditional 3-year course between generations, which means that it's time to get a new generation going. So it's just basically, it's been done time and time again in the past. So it would be strange if they decide to, this time around, skip the formula they've gone for, which, I mean, of course, there is no 100% pattern with Pokemon. They change up their strategy and design, concepts and what they go for all the time. But I just feel like it's about time now that next year, the Galar era, the Gen 8 era is over. It's time to move on to Generation 9 and the next thing. It's been a while already, so that's that. So my conclusion is more or less that Generation 9 sort of needs to come out next year, or else the Pokemon Company and its partners are all going to run into a bit of a wall of trouble, as Pokemon Go will start to bleed players due to the lack of brand new content, the merchandise and TCG won't have enough content for new products, and the anime will not have enough places to take Ash on his newest journeys. Overall, they just need to give us a new generation to satisfy all the these other aspects of the franchise more or less, right? So yeah, those are my points for why I think Generation 9 will be coming out next year. That was my conclusion. There are a few more points I could have made, but they're more vague. But overall, what do you all think? Are you still of the belief that we won't get Generation 9 next year? Or do you agree that it seems highly likely and possible? I would love to know your personal thoughts and opinions in the comment section. Really tell me, guys, why do you think, give an actual argument, why do you think Generation 9 is going to not happen, or refute my points here if you can? And if you agree with me, tell me why you agree with me. Do you have any different opinions? Let me know, and that's it for today. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, and bye-bye.